Expensive nonsense. May's EU transition plan to cost Britain at least £28 billion after Brexit. According to official projections made by the Office for Budget Responsibility, OBR, for this week's budget, Britain will have to fork out at least another £28 billion to Brussels in the 2 years after it has officially left the EU. The news has infuriated backbenchers and Brexit campaigners who warn that British voters will take a dim view of their cash being spent subsidising wasteful European countries. It has also added weight to calls for Britain to walk away from talks and leave the EU without a deal. In her Florence speech, Mrs May offered to pay Britain's full contribution to the end of the current EU budget, which ends in 2021, 2 years after Brexit takes place in March 2019. This was in exchange for a 2-year transition period where the UK leaves the EU in stages to allow the country and businesses to adjust. Government sources claimed that the net cost of paying until the end of the budget period was around £20 billion, but the OBR has said that it will instead be £13.8 billion in 2019-20 and £14 billion in 2020-21. Worse still, it has warned that the potential cost of a transition period is growing and is already £2.1 billion more than it told ministers in March. The OBR is independent but produces the official figures which the government bases its forecasts on. Senior Tory MP Peter Bone, who founded the Brexit campaign group Grassroots Out, raised concerns that ministers are trying to hide the cost of a divorce bill to get a deal with the EU, and it might be better to walk away from talks and go on to World Trade Organization rules for doing business. He said, "Well done to the Daily Express for exposing this in the small print of the budget." He went on, "We had been told that the figure was around £20 billion, but that clearly wasn't true. We need transparency and honesty on this figure." He added, "I certainly would not support paying this amount to Brussels. I don't think my constituents in Wellingborough or many other people in the country will be happy about billions of pounds which should be spent on public services here being used to subsidise public services in Romania and Bulgaria. There is no requirement for us to pay Brussels a penny when we leave, so £28 billion is unacceptable." Margaret Thatcher's favourite economist, Professor Patrick Minford, the chairman of Economists for Free Trade, said that the revelation proves that it is better for Britain to quit the talks and leave without a deal with the EU. He said, "Transition is an expensive nonsense, and it has now got several billion more expensive. No deal remains the best deal." The eye-watering figure is expected to get even higher, with Mrs May reportedly deciding to offer up to £36 billion to get a trade deal with the EU. But the increase revealed by the OBR means the final divorce bill could be even higher. Last week the Daily Express revealed that pro-Brexit ministers are considering resigning if Mrs May tries to force through a deal with a massive divorce bill, unless it comes with a trade deal that gives Britain completely unfettered access to the EU markets and leaves the UK free to make new trade deals around the world.